I made some bad decisions. The weather was stronger than was forecast. Yeah, Elayna's pretty much been bedridden for 24 hours now.
Look at it, it's so beautiful. That's how I'm under.
I'm Elayna and this is Riley, and this is our home, Le Vagabond. We've been sailing around the world for the last 5 years and have recently found ourselves with a stowaway. Meet Lenny. Subscribe and welcome aboard.
Deary, deary me. That's the first time you've got up sort of all day.
I'm going back down.
Oh yeah?
I've never been sleeping.
I know. In my defence a little bit, the weather was stronger than was forecast. If anyone's interested, I might go through all of the mistakes that I made and my thought process why, and maybe we can all learn from it at the end. So I'll just bring up the predict wind path that I had and the decisions that I was making before I was leaving, because I always find that interesting. We can all find out how silly I was.
What not to do?
What not to do. Yeah, Elayna's pretty much been bedridden for 24 hours now. This is Elayna's I'm kind of okay face. When she starts feeling really sick, that whole thing just falls apart. Lenny and I have been sitting here navigating for a lot of the day, haven't we, mate?
Yeah, it's pretty rough today. I'm in survival mode. Definitely wasn't a very good start to the trip. It's funny because I'm like, thanks for coming, Brie.
Seen you smile in 48 hours.
Oh, that was the most seasick I've ever been.
That's the worst I can recall.
Worst experiences of my life.
Trying to make me feel bad.
It's alright, it's not just your fault. We're all really keen to go. So this morning I was still seasick and I was on watch watching Lenny, Riley and Brie were sleeping. I had my head like sideways just here on this bench and I was looking out the window out the front and I saw this big back of a whale and I was like, holy crap, like it was really big. And then I just went 30 degrees to port straight away so that we like came behind it because we had to go behind it because of the direction of the wind. Yeah, potentially may have just saved Le Vagabond this morning, so maybe I should thank the seasickness because otherwise I probably wouldn't have been looking out that window like that. I never thought I would eat chocolate again. It's back to normal.
I thought we were done. I thought you were going to buy a car when we got to the Azores and give up sailing.
So the wind has dropped down to 10 knots and we're going to put up the code D and we're all outside, ready to go. It's the most motivated we've been. There's baby squid all over the deck. I just feel terrible. Look at it, it's so beautiful.
jolly captain.
I'm so happy.
This is so good.
Riley is extremely jolly. We don't have sunshine.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. After the initial disaster, the problem was still that we're getting 3 metre plus waves hitting us on a beam, and the further we went on course, the more forward of the boat they were getting. So we kept going downwind a bit, and then as the wind and the waves dropped, we sort of peeled back around on course. I sort of slowed down to let the bad weather overtake us, which it did, and then things have progressively got calmer and calmer. So from a peak of 36 knots down to 11 now, and this is champagne sailing. It's very, very nice. These two are taking a selfie. You can see the girls having a bit of fun. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about a while ago. It was really extraordinarily tough on board for 2 days, and we did no filming because everyone was, well, I mean, these two were throwing up, Lenny was screaming, and I was just hanging on
Doing
for
everything.
dear and looking after Lenny. So we got no filming done, and then the sun comes out, we put out the code D, and that'll probably take up 50% of this video, when really the real story was how difficult the start was.
Oh yeah.
Which we never get to film. So
I
that's
could
an
not pick up a
example as
camera.
to why things would appear to you guys as if it's all just rainbows and butterflies, when it's not.
If every day of sailing could be like this, I would sail forever. The
But
rest of my life. But every day is not like this.
yeah. No, don't touch it. It has been the nicest day sailing today. Since we rolled out that code D, we've had consistent wind, so we haven't had to change much. Every now and then it's blown up to about 16 knots of true wind from 12. So we've had to, go downwind a bit and let out a bit of the code D, just let off a bit of the sheet and then tighten up again. But besides that, we've just been cruising at an average of 8 knots. It's just been perfect. We had dolphins before, but I had Lenny on my hip, so I couldn't go all the way out the front. And the water's just kind of got this like glare from the grey clouds and the sun that wants to poke through, and it's just really, really nice. It has been such a good day. Where's Lenny? Where's Lenny? Can Mum have a kiss? Ah, thank you. Lenny and I have been into everything this morning, pulling apart containers, the lens cleaning kit. The other two are still in bed. I've been on shift all morning since sunrise, and we just had to start the engines because we're a bit low on power. Hey Lenny, you love Goji. Look, Lenny, Goji. So we're a bit low on power, running the engine. We still got the code D out, 16 knots of wind, and we're expected to get there in 6 hours time. We're hoping before sunset, and yeah, that's kind of it this morning. Haven't had to do much sailing. I had to wind in the code D. We lost all wind, so I just wound it in and we motored for a bit, and then I rolled it back out. But Lenny's been the most work. My goodness. I was really upset when we did the North Atlantic crossing with Greta that we couldn't stop in at Bermuda and the Azores. We just didn't have time. So getting to go back now to the Azores, and I hope it's all I think it is in my head, because I am imagining it to be just this mountainous green. Cows everywhere. He just spilled the goji berries. Gotta go, guys.
really excited to see the Azores on the horizon. Lenny, be gentle with Dad. Cuddles. Lenny, you found a new chair.
I don't know if it was last night or the other day, but I saw this mark here and I was like, what the hell is that? November 30th, 3 p.m. So Christian Demard, who was our Northern Hemisphere weather router for the North Atlantic crossing when we took Greta across, and he was saying like, you need to be either this far south or this far east by a certain time, and we kept getting waypoints of like desired destinations to get to before we just got smashed by the next wild low coming through. It was in the middle of my night shift and I just cracked up laughing. I was in like this wild, extremely tired 4 a.m. mode, and I was just like, One thing that was never really taught to me, and I was asking different people that should know, and either I was asking the wrong questions or I'm not really sure why no one seemed to really have the answer. But I'm really interested in localized weather and how that impacts my boat. So a powerful cloud there and not so powerful cloud there, and how that interacts with what I'm trying to accomplish. So what I learned after so much searching, and apologies if this is really basic for some people, but I did find it quite difficult to wrap my head around and find the information, so I'm going to explain it all to you now. It is simply updraft clouds and downdraft clouds. Okay, we've had prevailing winds coming like this. We've been travelling west. We've been trying to take the wind at roughly 130 degrees. And this is more important because we've got the Jangle up, the code D, which means that we don't want the apparent wind to exceed 15 knots. That is the force of the wind on the sail, otherwise it could tear. It's probably fine up to 17, but the rule of thumb is to avoid getting it above 15 knots apparent. Now, updraft and downdraft clouds. Our track, rather than being directly west, lately has sort of been, we've been coming along like this, and then we've been going up, and then we've been going up like this. And these parts here, the first one happened at night time, and immediately I was like, okay, radar on, what am I dealing with? The wind angle shift, the actual speed of the wind dropped, and so I was immediately on, not high alert, but I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then during the day, I'm able to see very clearly that there's clouds coming over. What will happen, I'm going to get this wrong and I'll do a link to the video, but what I think is happening is as we're going like this and the prevailing winds are here, there'll be a downdraft cloud in front of us or an updraft cloud behind us. That's just if the cloud is sucking in or blowing out. So a downdraft cloud will have wind going out of it, and an updraft cloud will have wind going into it, which counteracts the prevailing wind. So if I'm going along here and there's an updraft cloud, you can see that it is sucking in towards that cloud, so it's going to counteract the prevailing wind, and that's basically what we've been dealing with at the moment, is the different clouds. And I didn't know why, and I've gone a little bit of the way towards explaining why, and I think armed with that information you'll be able to better assess your surrounding area and be a safer
Sailing
sailor.
for beginners.
What are you listening to with him, Brett?
Some jazz.
Really?
I
think he's into it.
He loves it.
Yeah. Just how I imagined it.
Got about 1 million lures and no schwiffles. I haven't been fishing since we were weighing Lenny with this.
Really?
Yeah.
We cannot wait to explore San Miguel with you, the main island here in the Azores. But first, we've got to pass a rather invasive test. Make sure you've subscribed so you don't miss out on next week's video. I'll leave you with Riley for now. He's got something very important to tell you.
If you remember during the video, I said that I was going to go through the weather. So if you're interested in all of the mistakes that I made and you want to learn from them, then this would be a good case study. I was, as I said, maximising for sailing rather than comfort, which resulted in us getting 3.5 metre waves on a beam for 30 hours, which was very uncomfortable. They were breaking waves because we were getting 30, well, I saw 36, which means it would have been more than that at times. Triple reef in the main, not much head sail out. It was very uncomfortable and very poor decision making by myself. But the reason that I made that mistake was I wanted to sail for the entire trip. So on the days either side of when we left, there was a dead patch here, and then later on there's going to be a dead patch here. In the forecast, the days preceding this one. The other mistake that I made was I was looking at wind more than gust. I know for sure that I need to look at gust. It's a very obvious thing to look at, so make sure that you will do the same. But I wasn't looking at it enough. I was worried about the 2 dead patches. I was maximising for sailing rather than comfort. And I mean, I've got an 18-month-old baby on board, so that was really dumb. After the North Atlantic crossing that I did, when we were just constantly encountering plus 40 knot winds, I was looking at this and I was like, oh, you know, that's not a problem. So I sort of become adjusted in that direction when really I should have reset and just gone, okay, well, if we don't need to get 3.5 metre waves on a beam, then there's no reason to do that. We left, and as you can see, straight away, it's quite windy, gusting to 36, which is what we saw. In my defence, it was windier than I had expected and was forecast, and also the waves were actually coming from here, from the northeast rather than the north. So if you look here, I knew that the waves were going to be coming from here, and the plan was to just head south for a bit. Instead of following this track here, we would just head south for a bit to go with the waves, which is going to be obviously much more comfortable, and head sort of towards Madeira and head on a bit of a track like this. And then when the wind dies down, as it does here, so instead of being up here, we might be down here somewhere, then you can take the lighter winds on a beam, increase your apparent wind, and really start hammering along. That was the plan, but the waves were, instead of from the north as is forecast, like this, they were more from here. When we were heading southeast, they were still getting us on a beam. And the occasional, as you can expect with 36 knot winds, there were some not serious breakers, but there were some very uncomfortable ones coming there and smashing the side of the boat and waking everyone up. Yeah, so I think they're basically all of the mistakes that I made. Hopefully you can learn from me. I'll be everyone's buffoon. Yeah, if you like that little extra bit of information, let me know in the comment section below. Give that video a like. You know, it's not super entertaining for so many people, but yeah, important. Cool. Thank you.